Welcome everyone to another observability clinic monitoring Adobe Experience Manager, or AEM in short, cloud services with Dynatrace. For me, Adobe Experience Manager is a new technology, but I know a lot of our users out there are using it in the different variations that it's provided by Adobe. But without me talking about it, I brought Rob on board here to give us an overview of what Adobe Experience Manager is and how Dynatrace helps. But before we go into the topic, Rob, so great to see you again because it's been a while since the two of us did one of these videos together.
That's right. Hi, Andy. Yeah, and everyone, thanks for joining. Yes, I'm Rob Jahn. I've been with Dynatrace, 5 years now. So Andy and I have worked
Oh,
together with Dynatrace many times. Hopefully, we bumped into you guys at Perform and things like that. But yeah, excited about today. I'm in a new role where I work very closely with our technology partners. So Adobe is one of our newest offerings area for a solution, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
cool. Hey, Rob, I don't want to hold you up more. Maybe you just walk us through the content. I know there's also some live demo. And as I'm sure there will be questions that I will have, maybe you just bring me in, or I don't want to interrupt you, but maybe from time to time, just check in with me if there's any questions. But other than that, I want to leave it to you now.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so Andy, yeah, so this is definitely maybe familiar with some of you. We have many customers that are on Adobe Experience Manager, where you're running it within on-premise. So you can deploy the Adobe platform where you author and publish content. But their newest offering is AEM Cloud, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Talk about our solution for AEM, some of the capabilities, do a very short little demo so you can see what it's all about. And then since this is new, there's a lot of new resources that I want to direct you to. So with just jumping in, if you are familiar with Adobe, they are really the leader in what's called digital experience management platform. So if you follow the Gartner Magic Quadrants, they've been a top right leader in that space. They've been a close partner with Dynatrace for many years, whether it's the digital experience monitoring, as well as the capabilities to monitor the on-prem version through our One Agent. So this is where it's probably pretty familiar. So it's really about people that want to use a platform to author and publish content at scale within enterprises. And so what's new with the cloud, and I'm not going to read all these to you, but this is really, there's a lot of great capabilities. So it's really, they've re-platformed their architecture. They're actually using Kubernetes. They've integrated a lot of continuous delivery pipelines to allow, authoring and publishing. It's integrated with some of their other content delivery network systems. So that's really what it's all about. It's like a new kind of platform as a service managed on the infrastructure side for them, where then you have all the tools to really focus on building in your application. So when we're talking about who's this for, it's really, there's a lot of, as mentioned, a lot of Dynatrace customers that are migrating to the cloud offering, and there's also probably maybe some of you out there that aren't a Dynatrace customer and are looking for a great way to monitor the end user experience. So it's really through this partnership. I'm in the partnership team, so we're really excited about bringing the best in class platform of observability, Dynatrace, a really best in class platform for digital experience management, and through a partnership, we now have this supported solution to make it easy for you guys. And so what this looks like, there's really kind of a couple flavors, if you will. So I tried to lay out this grid to lay out, the three different offerings from Adobe. There's the customer manage, which is where you, the customer, are deploying and managing the infrastructure to host these authoring processes and publishing processes. And the publishing process is really essentially the process that hosts your website. So with that, since you were on-prem, you can deploy the Dynatrace One Agent, gain full stack observability, gain end-to-end tracing, and really take advantage of the whole platform. So this is what a lot of customers of ours use now. The middle column is what is the new cloud offering, and as mentioned, the infrastructure is now managed by Adobe, and so that's where you gain a lot of things like automatic auto scaling. So if you need more processes, they're monitoring and provision those automatically. So that's where you're paying for that sort of platform as a service. But then you, as the customer, you still want to ensure that your content is being published on the right places. You want to know where, if there's errors related to the serving up of content, what is the end user experience. for the things that you're building. And that's where, RUM and the ability to monitor the key processes is really important. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And then there is another flavor where Adobe can provision infrastructure, give you control of a lot of the configuration, but we're not able in that situation to deploy the one agent there. However, you can use Dynatrace synthetics to monitor the application that gets built. You can also inject. We have Andy has probably a whole performance clinic on these kind of approaches, but you can use what's called a manual injection, where within your code templates, you can stick the code snippet that will then serve up the agentless agent on the browser side, and so then you can gain an end user experience that way. But the key thing is that all of these sources, so whether you're migrating or new, it's all feeding into the same Dynatrace environment. So maybe a key question is, where's this data going? It's like these agents are in the Adobe platform, the Adobe front end of the app that you build, and they're all directed into the Dynatrace platform itself. So then all the capabilities like workflows and service level management, everything is all part of our platform. Analytics is now, that's the real thing that you're gaining. And we're going to drill into that a bit.
Hey, Rob, maybe one quick question, a recap. I also always like to recap if I understand everything correctly. What I like about this, first of all, the grid here is that you show us the different kind of deployment flavors that Adobe provides. What I really like is that in any of the deployment flavors, we always have our RAM capabilities front and center, which is good because as far as I understand, reasons why organizations are buying Adobe Experience Managers because they want to get their content out there through that service, right? I think you called it a digital experience platform. That's the category.
That's right.
And obviously, digital experience means you want to monitor from your end users. You want to see how your end users are consuming that content. And this, I think it's great that we obviously have a consistent experience for real user monitoring. For the other layers, it's great to see that we have obviously the insights depending on the deployment model all the way down to application logs. But I think the most important is obviously that we have the real user experience monitoring across all of the different deployment models. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a perfect segue because, digital experience, I mean, Andy, and you and I have been talking about this for years. It's really, companies their business is their digital presence, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're a B2B customer, fulfilling orders, whether, obviously a retail customer with a high performant website during a Black Friday kind of event. It's more and more your business is dependent on the speed, the availability, the performance of the websites themselves, right? And also the services that support those. So it's really important, to your point, that we know very well what is the end user experience. If there's a disruption behind the scenes, what's the actual impact to the end user? But also, if you look on the right, these can be reputational impacts, they can be monetary impacts. You may have service levels with another, organization that's dependent upon the speed and availability of this site. So this is just a message that's a common theme with Dynatrace. Digital experience is critical, and so the ability to monitor that, if you will, kind of gets into these challenges without the right tooling and the right platform to support you in managing the digital experience. So it's kind of the classic one is, hey, the website's slow, or it's crashing, or a user complains about not being able to complete a transaction. Okay, well, why is that happening? Where is that happening? How many people are impacted by that? And this is kind of gets into these kind of questions. So, you really, it's great to monitor your website, but then if it does break, how do you fix it? Where do you even begin? And that's really where the power of Dynatrace helps. So,
yeah, and Rob, maybe also to this, I know you mentioned this, but folks, look at the description of the video. We'll add a lot of links to additional material we've created over the years around how to use Dynatrace for real user monitoring. Things that you have said, right? Maybe through an update, you are now breaking the user experience for certain users that use an older version of a browser because you're using JavaScript functionality that doesn't work. Maybe you have a CDN issue and therefore key elements on the page, whether it's images, style sheets, or JavaScript again, cannot be downloaded and therefore breaks the experience. Dynatrace provides all of these details so that, and I think you have it nicely here with the prioritization, right? You can actually take the data from Dynatrace and you can make better informed decisions on first of all, which problem to address first, because obviously in an ideal world, there's no problem. In the real world, we sometimes have different challenges we need to face. And then the question is, which one do you prioritize? And because we tell you what is the impact, who is impacted, then you can make better informed decisions. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so, you know, we'll come back to this at the end, but for those who are not familiar with the Dynatrace platform, this is, you know, a conceptual or a picture of how it works. Starting on the top, these are the kind of capabilities within Dynatrace. And what we're talking about here with Adobe is a lot about the digital experience management and as well as the application experience. You know, what's happening as the transactions are taking place, what infrastructure are they running on? Because Adobe is actually, you know, has their Java-based processes, so we can see the health of you know, the memory, what's happening with the JVMs. We can see, you know, where is content actually being served from, things of that nature. So that's what you're gaining now with the solution. And so then you're feeding into, and we'll demo this really quickly so you can see what we're talking about. But these are, you know, the heart of Dynatrace is a whole bunch of capabilities, which Andy and I and others have done a lot of talks around all these capabilities. So we're not going to drill into all these. But you know, one thing that we're trying to drive also in general is automation. So if you have a service level violation or you see impacted users as a result of something, we want to notify people, we want to prioritize it, we want to ultimately remediate that issue as quickly as possible. So I'll go real quick and then I'm going to jump into kind of what the product looks like. But, you know, as you see, there's a digital experience aspect to it, which as well as the infrastructure view. So these kind of core personas, we call them, or the core teams that really benefit from the solution or have good, you know, challenges in their role. You know, starting with the developers or the people that are, and also the people producing the content, that, you know, you're under the gun to like produce changes, right? Refresh the site, get new things going. So you want to get those out there as quickly as possible, but that creates change, right? So every time there's a change, there could be a risk of something not working properly. So it's really important that, you know, you don't have to spend your time troubleshooting problems. So if there is a problem, as Andy said, they happen, you want to quickly resolve it so you can get back on delivering and adding value. Operations is really primarily there to, you know, ensure that the platform's there for the developers to do their job, but also have the platform there available for the production and end users. And then the business is caring about what is this website all about, and what are the strategic goals of having this be updated and available. So that's kind of the three key ones. And so I'll jump into a demo real quick, and we're going to walk through a couple things here. And so Andy, just make sure you can see what I'm.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah, I
seeing?
see your browser with
With the
I
week,
forget, it's
actually
called a weekend.
that's, you know, it's a kind of a cool guy way of saying weekend, I guess. But that does weekend.
Yeah.
So this is just a sample website, just to show you, you know, I don't know, to what does a website look like, right? So this could be a particular asset. You know, that's what's set up in our demo environment, where someone had authored this page with the Adobe Experience Manager, and we're really interested in ensuring that the functionality is there and things like that. So when you come into Dynatrace, so now imagine you've asked Adobe, like, hey, like, install the one agent into my environment. What do you get out of the box with that? So here I'm now switching over to the Dynatrace UI. So this is our environment where we've now are recognized that Weekend Adventures app, which we just had up. And what we're seeing here is the digital experience view from a couple perspectives. So this is, again, Andy has a lot of great videos. So I'm going to really just do a drive-by, if you will, of the capabilities, especially if you've never seen Dynatrace before. But, you know, we're looking at a performance analysis view, which is obviously focused on those types of aspects. So really, you know, how is the overall health of the application, from load times to response times of individual pages, you know, what's the availability of my application, what are the key actions, what are the top pages that people are visiting, and so on. So we can see, Andy, you mentioned errors. So in this, you can see in our environment, there's a level of something going on. This could be so this is a good example of, like, something's misconfigured, something in the creation of the page resulted in some sort of JavaScript error or maybe a resource not found. So this kind of view is what we get a great snapshot out of the box of all these key dimensions, from user actions to performance. And there's a lot of other, things that are very interactable here. We could see, a geographic breakdown just by one click. You're getting that automatically. You're getting what's called an Apdex rating. So if you're not familiar with Apdex, this is a performance index that kind of normalizes, imagine you have one page that takes 2 seconds and that's normal, another page that takes 10 seconds and that's normal. You want to sort of reduce that into a common metric, which is called an Apdex rating, which goes between a 0 and a 1, that allows you to kind of just gauge the health on like a 1 to 100 kind of score. It's another example. And I don't know if, Andy, you want to add anything about this view,
No,
but
I just want to thank you for bringing the Apdex up. I mean, there's so much more data here, as you said, but the Apdex is also what I see a lot of organizations use to standardize not only on the reporting internally on how well are applications doing that have to deliver good user experience. So they're using it for reporting, but it's also a measure of improvement, right? I see a lot of organizations say, hey, our company standard is that we should not deliver any websites that have a rating, an Apdex rating that is lower than, let's say, 70 or 80% or 0.7, 0.8. So I think Apdex is great and that you get it out of the box here for your applications that are hosted on AEM. That's perfect. Now, I also love that you see the top actions, because the top actions are really important because you can actually see who is actually, which content is more popular, which other content is not popular. And so this also gives great feedback. Yeah.
That's right. So, and we'll drill into this a bit more, but just the other like quick, super high level is that we're also getting the user behavior view. So there's one tends to be more, right, the coding level or the page level, the resource level, this internal Apdex score. But then if you kind of just even look at this infographic, you can see kind of the funnel, right? So when you, most digital experience are talking about entry and exit actions, you can see here. There's also things like bounce rates, a geographic look down. What's a synthetic user, which is, we'll get into that a little bit, but this is a real user clicking and opening up the app versus a script, which is a synthetic transaction, which you also include in your management to have, consistent, geographic views from different locations. What is the health of the homepage and the key actions, and you do that in a continuous automated way, and that allows you to get a baseline and add that into your overall view of the application. Especially if there's people aren't using it in the middle of the night, you're having a continuous exercising and make sure that availability is there, for example. So these types of views, all out of the box of being able to see when people are coming into your website, what the top page is. So it's just another dimension of looking at your website that, again, is all out of the box. So there was nothing really done to do this. We installed the one agent. It automatically is monitoring the applications. All these views and perspectives are automatically populated. And then if you want to, you can drill in to start analyzing it in a custom way.
Yeah, and I also like, you mentioned this, if you scroll up again to the infographic, many content pages like what you had here the weekend, I assume you are driving people to that website, whether it is through organic search, whether it's through paid advertisement and marketing campaigns. So you see if your entry pages, if people really come in from these campaigns or from the places where you want them to come in from. And then you also see how then kind of navigating through the rest of the content, where they are dropping off, or also how they convert. So you can also set up so-called conversion goals. So I know you had like the adventures page up. I assume you may want people to consume 2 or 3 different kind of adventure blocks. And so you can set this up as conversion goals, right? Because that's kind of the measure of success of a page. But it could be anything that is also related to, I don't know, selling something over the website. Yeah. Cool.
Exactly right. And this is where you, as this is your website, you have to, inform Dynatrace, like, what is your goal? Like it's like I said, maybe navigating a particular flow, hitting a certain page, could be like your cart checkout, for example. And so you're essentially tracking that in that funnel, like people arrive, people transact, did they complete that transaction? And that's what that conversion is all about. What I'll do is just as another quick view. So when Dynatrace is looking at these transactions, it's not just, hey, I hit this web page. It's in the context of an actual an actual transaction. Sorry, actual session. I'm sorry, using the wrong word. So if I was to look at real users, and this might have been me from yesterday, but let's just say this view. So what Dynatrace is doing is capturing the session. So you can see at a high level, you can see I came in from my Mac. I came in, for this particular Chrome browser. This is where I was coming in from. And then during my session itself, you could see all the activity that I did on that particular page, and you can see that same AppDex score that Andy was saying, page by page. So you could have an overall aggregate view of, say, the home page. You'll pick on that one, or for an individual, down to the individual click of an individual session, you can also have that same level of insights. And so then you're getting, which is the front end. This is a view of the front end kind of performance from all these different dimensions. So if you're a front end person out there, you can see, first time to byte receive, first type to render, serve time to so all this data is what allows developers and content people to really understand what's happening on a given page. And so it even goes even further, which is amazing. So now on the individual page, you're now gaining this breakdown of server-side requests, all of these different pages that are coming here, getting insights into whether these are cached or not. Are they non-optimized, right? So there's a non-optimized image here where this is taking 2 seconds, maybe for this guy, right? This one's not even loading properly. So this is the kind of insights that you can debug, you can understand about your application. Again, all kind of out of the box here with our real user monitoring.
Yeah, and I think the key point here is, and I've been working in web performance optimization for a long, long time. And with web performance optimization, we typically mean a developer is optimizing the web performance with tools that they have installed on the local machine. So basically, they're optimizing their own experience. What you are showing us here is real user monitoring. That means every single user that ever makes it to your site will produce that level of detailed diagnostic information so that the developers, when somebody says your website doesn't work, and the developer typically responds, but it works on my machine, you now have the data to show, well, the reason why it isn't working on their machine is because from their internet, from their browser, they cannot download these JavaScript files. They cannot download these CSS files because maybe there's something wrong with your DNS. There's something wrong with your caching. And I think this is why this is so valuable to get this session-based details for every single user. Obviously, we saw a lot of things masked out. By default, Dynatrace will not capture sensitive information. So that means you can actually configure what should be captured, what should not be captured, and when things are captured, who is going to be allowed to access this data. We're obviously compliant with GDPR and all the other regulations out there.
That's right. That's right. Yep. And so you can see all of these, insights, if you will, are all out of the box, right? So you Dynatrace, from the years of experience of doing this, comes in and is identifying, hey, these are the common problems, right? A resource is there, or third-party site. So this is the real power of Dynatrace. And just to kind of jump over to it, just a related topic is Dynatrace. Typically you're combining, or our best practice would be for sure to combine the real user monitoring with synthetic monitoring. And so synthetic monitoring is maybe what you're maybe familiar with, excuse me, but you're essentially programming a script to go through a particular flow, like open the front page, open up a magazine, open up an adventure within the magazine. But then you're doing that across, in my case, it's not too exciting. I have it coming from one location, but if you did configure one of these synthetic monitors to execute from different geographies, one from Europe, one from the US, one from Asia Pac region, for example. You can also set up, if this was an internal only app, you can also set up internal synthetic monitors that work within your network. So there's a very powerful suite of capabilities within Dynatrace to do that. But typically you can see right on the front, the two primary use cases are availability and performance. Is my app and these key transactions available to use all the time? And that's why you do it, in addition to baseline. And so by hitting the same transaction over and over, you can establish, all right, the normal for this thing from this location is X. And this is where Dynatrace automatically will baseline that, and it can tell you when there's an anomaly from the norm.
Mhm.
And there's a lot more to this, but just to
Mhm.
kind of show you, I just want, again, kind of a quick capability of what Dynatrace is for both the digital user experience and the synthetics.
Mhm.
Anything else to add to that one, Andy,
No,
before I
just
jump?
I think again we will have additional links in the description to show you more about synthetics. I think it's perfect what you said. Nothing
Okay.
to add.
All right. So jumping to a different topic, we're going to, kind of show you quite a few things. So, the heart of Dynatrace is, you know, it's Davis, which is the name of our AI engine. And so Davis is constantly monitoring the environment, looking at your topology, looking at events, looking at metrics across the full stack from users to the infrastructure, putting them all together to understand when there's something wrong, but more importantly, what's the impact of something that's wrong, because there's lots of things are wrong. You can see in my environment, you could wake up and have a whole bunch of problems in your environment, which probably most operations people stare at a screen like this. But if we were to pick on one, and this is the, the real power of Dynatrace, because it's not just, hey, I had, you know, an error on one page at one point. It's really a problem that's been occurring for some period of time, typically. And so Dynatrace is constantly monitoring and looking at that and trying to understand, okay, what does this mean? Is this a cause or an effect of something? And what it puts together at the end of its work is what we call a problem card. So it puts things in a very organized way right at your fingertips. This is all just out of the box, where you could see I have applications, services, infrastructure, or service levels impacted as a result of this. So Andy, you're talking about prioritization. So if I'm affecting, critical service levels to my customers or my partners, that would be a higher priority than something that probably wasn't, right? Or if I'm a production server, that's probably a higher priority than a non-production, for example. Or and so what this view gives you is business impact analysis. So you could see for this particular failure rate problem, again, this is a demo environment, but it's only affecting 5 people. But those may be very important people, who knows, right? So it may not be a quantity of people, but it gives you a gauge of, okay, I'm affecting 5 people. It's affecting this one application. And then we just did look at user sessions. I'll just pop this open real quick. But then you're all built into the Dynatrace platform is just rich context kind of navigation. So you could see right here my filter of what period of time I'm looking at. It's automatically filtered this window of time where I was having this problem. And these are the sessions that are impacted by this. So all these filters were automatically pre-populated so that it's a one click. I mean, that's really the the power of Dynatrace. It's very rich UI where you can jump from a problem to analysis with one click. In it's click click click, and you can find that the impact and the root cause of problems right away. So in this case, this was known by this particular publishing process, right? So if I was to look on it, and we'll jump into the infrastructure in a second, but I will see also, here is this particular publishing process that is serving this page, and I'm getting the problem window, so I can now easily see, hey, it's happening in this time frame. Over here on the right, Danny, feel free to comment on this, but this is a relatively new feature where we're exposing how Davis is determining related metrics. And so you can see basically the correlation factor across these different metrics, because that's what Davis is doing, is looking at hundreds and hundreds of metrics, sorting through it to say, these are the ones that really matter. These are the ones that have a high relationship to what we're looking at this particular tier.
No,
And so
you,
we
you
can
did it
see
spot
that.
on. It's really
Yep.
about, there's a lot of data, but what we take off your shoulder is analyzing all the data and detecting what is the leading root cause, what is the root cause metric, what's the root cause event, what is the root cause log entry, or whatever we are capturing. We basically not only tell you what is the impact, who is impacted, but also where to look in order to fix the problem. I think that's the important piece here. Yeah? Everything automated.
Right. And so this is where, maybe this is a good segue to just kind of showing you what the service itself is for the Adobe process. So if I just jump back one quick second. So what Dynatrace is recognizing is, by having the one agent there, we will see the actual container. So it's essentially what we call terminology wise is app only monitoring. So we're not seeing the underlying. I mean, this is where Adobe is managing the actual infrastructure, but we're able to see the containers because they're running behind the scenes in Kubernetes, where we can see the container, everything running in the container, including the automatic injection of the real user experience for the web pages that are being served from that process. So I know that was a mouthful of things, but essentially what this means to you as an operations person is you're now seeing the actual Adobe service itself coming out of one of these containers. So we are seeing, for this particular process, I have multiple calling applications. So it could be that there could be a couple different websites. So right away, we'd see an automatic relationship of, in my case, only one, but there could be multiple applications hitting this publishing process. We could see that there may be within a given process group, we call it, there could be there could be a one-to-many set of publishers. So we can now identify which publisher within a pool, say, could be having a problem, right? Where is it being served from? Where did I publish my content to? That sort of insight is what you're gaining. So we're now seeing at the service level, which is another way of looking at what we were just looking at with the end user experience. These are now the back-end calls. So in the browser, you're serving up a page, there's like style sheets and there's like graphics. Those are all being downloaded to your actual browser. But when you say, hey, I'm making a server-side call to serve up the underlying frame set or possibly an AJAX call to a web service, say, you would see that as an entry point on the back end service. And that's what we're seeing here. So here we're getting automatic baselines, automatic insights on every one of those individual endpoints is what you're seeing here.
Yeah, and Rob, maybe again, I know this should not go into too much detail because we want to cover AEM, but folks, if you're interested in learning more about what else we can do from a Dynatrace perspective for your service monitoring, for your triggering auto remediation, making sure that the systems stay healthy, even though there might be something going on right now that makes it unhealthy, please check out the additional material or reach out to any one of us at Dynatrace to ask for more.
Right. And so I think I'm going to just at that point, maybe that's a good logical point just to start kind of a recap here. So what we've seen is hopefully, really this real-time experience, insights, whether that's coming from, the real user monitoring, which is the core, but then also augmented by synthetics, which is really how you're getting to see it. And we didn't have time to show it, but there's another part of our digital experience suite called session replay. So a lot of, the ability to see what's happening with the individual session, what's happening, what's the end user experiencing is a tremendous tool for both support, but also, as Andy said, part of building content is experimentation. Like, hey, I want to try a new user journey or user flow, and let's see if they're getting, is that working? Are they less frustrated as a result by being able to see, how they navigate your site, through a session replay is a tremendous, addition to the capabilities of Dynatrace. I don't know if you want to add anything on session replay, but that's a whole, just want to call that out, I guess, that we have that. And then we did talk quite a bit about the AI. So there's no one problem type, right? There are problems. I mean, Andy's probably done, years of talking about this. I mean, the power of Davis and the AI engine is the core of Dynatrace. All of the root cause analysis, that's what it's doing. It's not a correlation engine, it's a causation engine. And what's also happening with the data now in Dynatrace, there is the ability to even do predictive AI on top of it. So our hypermodal AI is what we call it, but between causation-based AI, which is what we're looking at here, and also predictive AI, which is not what we had a time to demo, but that's where you're taking known data, feeding it into a machine learning basically algorithm. They'll project out, hey, I'm going to have a problem in these areas, or I'm going to may have resource constraints as a result of what may happen in the future, and that allows you to be more proactive. And then what if you've followed Dynatrace a bit, our generative AI, which is where we're now having, interactive capabilities to ask questions in a, human kind of language to, or human structure, to add that to the mix. And then I guess lastly, we had a really simple example, but, as you get into, more real world application, then the distributed tracing and profiling becomes a real, powerful capability. So my demo environment, it wasn't doing too much, but if you can see from this little graphic here, a website may be interacting with different content stores and maybe behind the scenes calling a server side action that talks to databases. So this distributed tracing is an extremely, core capability of Dynatrace. If you think of Dynatrace, it's our tracing is really core to our platform. And that's a capability that you're also getting on the server side. So I guess, a couple takeaways, confidence that we have this relationship with Adobe. We've been partners for years, and now we're supporting the new AEM cloud. I think we've talked a lot about this, but just think about it as, it's a complete and unified view from the application monitoring to the real user experience monitoring. And then being able to have this for all your workloads. So whether, there's an Adobe workload, or whether there's custom applications, you're seeing this, in the Dynatrace platform. And again, with this hybrid world where there could be some on-prem things and things moving to, platform as a service, it's again a unified platform, a unified data model, unified everything to have that for you. And then it's the scale. So Dynatrace is an enterprise platform. There's no limitations on the users. We encourage, more users. There's no licensing based on users. Long-term data retention. Our data lakehouse with Grail on our SaaS solution has tremendous storage capabilities. Lots of analysis you can do. And then I think we've hit a couple of these today. But the platform itself, has session replay, synthetics, automation. Andy has a lot of great sessions around our automation workflows. So any sort of event or data or log information, user session data can feed into driving workflows. And then also service level management, whether that's at the business level, an application infrastructure level, all these can be configured with that. And then just a little call out to another Dynatrace capability, because we work with so many digital experiences, in retail and banking. There's all of this data that is from digital experience can have an additional set of insights from what we call our business insights team. So I don't know if Andy got any little plug on business insights, but this is where, there is a team of experts in Dynatrace that can work with you to understand what's happening with those user journeys, with page optimization, because they have years and years of experience, working with the Dynatrace data, working with websites, working with customers.
Yeah, no, the only thing I want to add here is we will add another link or just find it on the Dynatrace website. As you said, there's a lot of data Dynatrace provides and a lot of recommendations on how to optimize it, but then we also have teams that can take that work off your shoulder as well.
Right. And so Andy's going to put them in the video, but right now, as of this recording, within the Dynatrace hub, which is dynatrace.com/hub, HUB, or the in-product hub, if you're a Dynatrace customer, you can search for Adobe and you'll see the Adobe Experience Manager. So within this page, there's a similar overview, links to documentation, talks about how the pricing works. The Adobe, because again, as a partner within the Adobe website themselves, they have it documented. And it just is a reminder, like in order to request this on the Adobe Cloud, there is a support ticket that you open with your Adobe account team or a support team rather, to say, hey, I want this enabled, and then you provide things like the token and the URL endpoint to allow the integration to take place. We have a blog moments away from coming out as another public blog, and that'll be another resource for you as well. So Andy, yeah, this was great. I thank you for the opportunity. I think we're really looking forward to this year for customers using this and our partnership growing with Adobe. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for giving us the overview. For me, as somebody that didn't know Adobe Experience Manager that well, I think that was a great overview. And as you've shown in the demo, we're not just talking about this. This is not just PowerPoint, but this is working in real life. And I'm pretty sure there's more to come. Rob, thank you so much. We're closing out this video for today, but I'm sure you will be back.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Bye-bye, all.
Bye.